I'm actually not going to be here for long, so I don't know why I've sat down. But just to point out the graphic design behind us here, this design has been prepared by Rafaela Blake, who's over there. The color palette has been dictated by high contrast colors that are the most visually legible, and also a typeface which is easiest to read for most people. I'm now going to introduce Belinda Zhawi. So this is an event exploring architecture in language. So we wanted to really include the widest possible range of literary formats that speak to spatial experience and communicate way beyond the sphere of architectural practice. So this evening we have the absolute pleasure of witnessing Belinda Zhawi, a Zimbabwean literary sound artist based in London. She is author of Small Inheritances, and she experiments with sound text performance as Mamoyo. Her work has been featured on platforms including The White Review, NTS, Boiler Room, and BBC Radio. She's held residencies with Triangle France, Serpentine Galleries, and the Institute of Contemporary Arts. She is the co-founder of literary arts platform Born Free. So welcome, Belinda.
Good evening. Okay, that's rude. Good evening, guys. Thank you. It's good to be here. I think I'm going to sit today because it's very intimate. Yeah, it's been a really nice day today, and it's good to be here amongst you guys, thinking about language and structures. My work is exploring a lot of the time, specifically at the moment, connections between the southeast of the continent of Africa, where you find Zimbabwe, where I was born, and Southeast London, where I moved to and where I live. So yeah, just exploring those tensions a lot of the time, thinking about the city, thinking about the ends as brought up by Nabil, both in the city of Harare, which is the capital city of Zimbabwe, and the city of London. This first poem is called Thames Mead Estate, where I was raised. We know this city wouldn't spit on us, will be flagrant, red and ablaze top deck of a bus. We learn to hear our screams walk through walls before they're cast into concrete silence. This city wouldn't even spit on us. We burn in fury and hunger, spines constricted into question marks inside blazing tower blocks, us, red and ablaze, top deck of a bus. We roll zoots in torn strips of Bible, spark inside lifts, bun on staircases, eyes red and ablaze, top deck of a bus. We smoke up parks and the forests too, to say fuck you too. We need pretty days too. Ablaze and red top deck of a bus. London is a city of ghosts, and we do not know where we stand with them. So we hide in its shadows, overpriced acid tabs and pills for a deep solitude maybe prayer can break in this city that wouldn't even spit on us. Were we red and ablaze, flagrant and blue, top deck of a bus. So the next poem I'm gonna read is also still thinking about Thames Mead Estate, which I think is such an incredible development. I don't know who's been there before, but it's a really interesting, striking space, brutalist and built on marshland, and it was generally avoided and was really kind of just for the poorest in the city at the time. And it's been interesting to kind of just find out more about it. But its effect on the psyche is really interesting as well, especially when the weather is gray, because the whole estate is pretty gray. So it's quite interesting to see that relationship between the climate and these buildings that are sort of towering in this forest. Yeah, so let me start with that one. So this poem is called Flesh and Blood. A gray day hallucination stirs me in my sleep before the city's early morning breath wakes me down in the dregs of Southeast London, through the drear of bullshit, brutalist council housing built on marshland, and streets awash with the spilt blood of young boys with eyes like my brother and hands that can build but only ever learnt to break. On the horizon, a lone dove in the gray sky flies across my line of sight. I say, night bird of this white bird whose song squeaks through the double glazing. It does not carry an olive branch, not in this sky, like my lover beside me who doesn't love themselves, like this city of ghosts and hot breath that doesn't love me, like this love I didn't choose. Outside, sound of the third siren, the sun pours himself into the moon, leaving her black as the shadow she wears on her waning nights, when I dance till dawn creeps in, before the high is worn, and the city is still a breathing thing with wings clipped. When the city's breath gets hot on my neck, I hold tourmaline under my tongue, eat blue kyanite and swallow obsidian. When the moon looks down her crescent smile to say, petition your ancestors through prayer and ritual, through offerings of herb, songs and rum. I light a red candle, bathe in Dead Sea salt and clay, sat in that water till the sun sets in my skin, till I reconcile with each one of my shadows, until my skin wrinkles as gray as these towers I call home. Thank you. Yeah, you don't have to clap actually, sorry, until the end. It's quite nice to just kind of carry on, just read the text and talk about it a little bit. I'm gonna stay in London. I think I've got 2 more to do, and I'm gonna stay in the city because I'm always thinking about, I think a lot of things that Nabil brought up as well about immigrant contributions to the city, specifically the city, but I'm sure we can use this for many other cities in the West, thinking about Paris, Marseille, New York City. I'm always thinking about the relationship, the impact of these people in these spaces, but also the impact of that space on them, a sense of self-identity, and yeah, how they perceive themselves in relation to that space. And those tensions that exist between the places they've come from, yeah, and the places that they're in now, which has been my experience with the city. This is called Dangerous Youth. In this city of ghosts, city of found and lost, city of silent gods, city of screaming, restless souls, ghosts on the night bus, ghosts in the mind, ghosts on the morning train and in the houseplants. Day's dangerous youth dream and laugh and dance like chemetic gods to their dangerous music about being dangerous youth, fragile like archive material. Youth is fragile like the mind, dangerous and full of yearning for the son of home, centuries ago, fragile like looted Benin bronze. I want to say, dangerous youth. After dark, wrap your head with black do-rag material, stolen from a brother or a lover, because this city is a Venus flytrap, ready to break you down till you no longer find use for weeping on the dance floor, no use for ecstasy. This city is no ecstasy, just a come down that's rarely worth it. Just a come down that's rarely worth it. Dangerous youth means young boy, means young girl, means dangerous youth, sleeping rough, living tough, like tarmac roads, amandum and galdum, tough like dangerous youth, whether above or below poverty lines, we remain dangerous youth, with knowledge, being used, abused, left behind, lost in time, but carry on, dangerous youth, in a hoodie, dangerous in a suit, 10 toes, whipping or smoking your zoo, oh dangerous youth in school, being called dangerous since school, dangerous youth, danger, danger. This is not your center. This is not your center. This is not your center. And the last poem I'm going to read, going to take it to Zimbabwe. Actually not going to talk about Harare. I'm actually going to talk about more of a rural setting, which is an interesting life to live in Zimbabwe, where the rural and the urban are constantly interacting. People going home, coming back into the city for hundreds of years now since the arrival of the British. So yeah, it's a really interesting space to exist in and to reflect on, as somebody who's had both upbringings as well. I'm going to read a different version of this poem. Excuse me. There's one in the book, but I think I'm going to read a different one. And this is in the voice of a small house, based on the small house that my grandparents used to own in Masvingo, in the Midlands of Zimbabwe. And this is called Homestead at Katawa. And it's just really about family and spirituality, but from the perspective of this building. A white matchbox house, slowly crumbling at the bottom of the hill, full of routines and rituals. I have even begun to forget when I started. All I have seen is a slow erosion of the ochre soil around me and the bonds of this family. I have a zinc roof for a head, 3 thatched huts and a stilted granary for company. I've spent every day facing the compound entrance, a musasa tree between us, a shroud of reds, mauves. The father of the house sits under it, smoking tobacco rolled in newspaper, inking his lungs' lifespan. He rests the cigarette next to a worn Shona Bible, gifted to him by his wife when they were still sweet. Under the slim shade of the kitchen thatch, 3 chickens, 2 hens and a cockerel peck and croon at her feet. She does not shoo them away, neither does she look at them. Her hands are white string and crochet needles. I watch half a dozen of her grandchildren fuss over her, sun-struck white hair, a halo glinting to itself. She does not shoo them away, neither does she acknowledge them. They always come to visit from Harare for a fortnight, quarterly, in line with the school holidays. Quarterly, they gather at night on my living room floor. The men in chicken feather headdress sat on wooden chairs worn with ritual, collarbones smeared in hen blood, goat skin bound drums between thighs and suns at their feet. They glisten in the chest and torso from the labor of pounding, kneading the music. The women, beaded waists, ankles adorned with dust and small shakers, they rattle into my walls when they stamp to the drum beat, chests heave, heads wrapped, hands damp with sweat, their eyes dance too in the dim orange of the candlelight. The first libation, millet beer, a small stream escapes into the cracks of my floor, and they ululate and ululate and ululate and ululate before beginning the incantation for rain. The room grows heavy as song that rings to their dead floats up and up and up to the bare black rafters. All the rooms pulsate with their ancestors, whose spirits wander the deserts of a fleshless realm, thirsty and parched. They speak, ears open to the spirit medium, an aging aunt who hears their voices and relays their prophecies. They all wear garments the color of raw scarlet, the color of a family secret no one wants to see seep out of door cracks. The wind containing their ancestors' voices,